Hey guys, Tom here from the Investing with Tom YouTube channel, and welcome to the first generic whiteboard video on a financial YouTube channel. So today I thought I would talk a little bit about, as you'll see by the title of the video, how much it really costs to purchase an iPhone. Now, the principles that we're going to work through today can be applied to a number of purchases. And what I really want to demonstrate is the power of compounding money over time, which was spoken about in previous videos, but I really want to reinforce the power of this with a real life example. Most people that you know probably own an iPhone, and I want to demonstrate the sort of opportunity cost of making that purchase over time. So if you went ahead and actually invested that money rather than purchasing an iPhone or going on a trip or buying that new car or whatever it might be, how could that actually change your life, and what could that potentially turn into over a number of years? So I thought I'd just chuck some numbers up on the whiteboard here to run you guys through it and give you an example of how much that iPhone is really costing you over the long run had you instead invested that money. So let's assume first off that an iPhone costs around $1,500. So this is going to vary obviously depending on what country you live in, what iPhone you get. Again, this can be applied to other purchases. So if you're upgrading a car, maybe you add an extra zero or so onto the end of that. You can use whatever kind of values you want, but for today we're going to go with $1,500 and we're going to assume that that is the cost of an iPhone. So the next thing we need to look at is how long is your investing time frame, your investing horizon. So for me personally, I'm 24 years old, so that gives me roughly about 40 years, I'm going to say, of investing time still ahead of me. So if we take 40 years next, we essentially need to figure out what we can turn $1,500 into over a period of 40 years. Because essentially when we go out and buy something that costs $1,500, we're sacrificing money, we're removing money that could have otherwise been invested and grown over time. So if I have $1,500 and I invest it for 40 years, I need to figure out what I'm going to kind of end up with at the end. So to help me figure that out, I'm going to use something called the rule of 72. So the rule of 72. Again, I've got a video on this on my channel, so if you haven't seen that, go and check it out. But essentially the rule of 72 allows us to figure out how long approximately it should take to double our money given a certain rate of return. So I'm going to assume that I'm going to earn around an 8% return per year. Personally, I dedicate a lot of time to investing and learning investing, but so I hope to kind of outperform the figure I'm going to use here today. But this is sort of the market average return over the last century, has been around 8 or 9%. So I'm going to go with about 8%. And what we can do with the rule of 72 is divide 72 by 8. That gives us a figure of 9. So that's telling us that it's going to take approximately 9 years for us to double our money. Right, so we've figured out that we have approximately 40 years of investing time, and it's going to take us about 9 years to double our money once over that investing sort of period. So next we need to figure out how many doubles we can do over a period of 40 years. So I'm just going to simply divide 9 into 40, and that gives me about 4.5 doubles, roughly. About 4.5 doubles. So with 4.5 doubles, what is that going to turn $1,500 into? Okay, so we've got $1,500, we're going to double that 4.5 times, so let's work through some of those numbers, and this is going to display the power of compounding money over time. We can turn relatively small amounts of cash into some pretty dramatic, pretty large sums of money over time. So $1,500, if we double it once, that gives us about $3,000. If we double it again, that gives us about $6,000. If we double it a third time, that takes us to about $12,000. A fourth time, we get to $24,000. I'm sure you guys have seen the point I'm trying to make here. And if we double it another half a time to give us our 4.5 doubles, that's going to give us approximately $36,000. So $36,000 is the magic number. That is what we've essentially given away in a lot of ways by purchasing that new iPhone. Now there's other reasons for buying an iPhone. Maybe you run some sort of online business, or you know, and there's some way that you can justify that sort of value. But essentially, this is what you have to realize you're giving up, is around $36,000 if you're going to spend $1,500 on that phone. So work through this in your own examples. I mean, you guys may have some slightly different numbers. As I said, if you're looking at purchasing that new car or going on that extravagant holiday, run through this and figure out how much that's actually costing you. You know, if you bought a $15,000 car, we can add a zero onto this, and that's cost you $360,000. So these numbers can get pretty large pretty quick, so it's definitely something to keep an eye on. So that's all from me for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please drop it a like, give me a comment, and subscribe. I will hope to see you there next time. Cheers.